Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Canfield, one member of the Bâtonnage team, and we're very excited to kick off the Bâtonnage Connect breakout sessions. So breakout sessions are new to Bâtonnage this year. Rebecca and I were looking forward to execute these in person in our in-person event. And they were going to take place simultaneously. So it would have been an opportunity to create this, smaller, more intimate environment to kind of promote communication about specific topics within, the general women in wine theme. And, with since having to go onto a virtual platform, this has given us the opportunity to deliver them separately. And so we will do so over the next couple of weeks. Beginning with today's focus on sparkling wine and champagne. And we will get started in just a moment, but first we've got some housekeeping. As these breakout sessions were originally intended to be more open communication between panelists and attendees, we do encourage you to use the communication fields that this webinar platform offers. So there's a chat section as well as a Q&A section, and these are different. The chat section is an informal way for you to communicate with other participants. So just be sure to select everyone in the to field, as it can default to panelists only. And then there's the Q&A field, and that is where we'd like you to submit your questions for our speakers to answer. And we'll do our best to address all the questions, but if there are any outstanding, we will aim to get these answered in a follow-up email to you, our attendees, along with a recording of the session will also be available, and we'll send that link to the video. If you find yourself with streaming issues, you may want to encourage other members of your office or household to log off the internet while you're on the webinar. And you might also try to log out and then try again with another browser such as Firefox or Chrome. Now, I'd like to also say thank you to our session sponsor. This is Gabrielle Glass. You'll see some of the glassware featured in our webinar. All of our ladies are using those glasses to drink their bubbly. And then also our panel. So I'd like to introduce our moderator today, Blaine Ashley. She's a champion for women in the champagne and sparkling wine spheres. She is founder of New York Champagne Week and the FIZZ is Female, which shines a spotlight on leading ladies in the bubbly wine biz and celebrates sparkling wine made, owned, and or led by female powerhouses from around the world, some of whom are with us today. So in 2016, Ashley's focus on all things bubbly awarded her a nod in Wine Enthusiast magazine as a 40 under 40 tastemaker, where she was aptly named the Champagne Queen. In addition to all of this, Ashley continues to work with wine and artisanal spirit companies on developing creative brand awareness strategies and is set to launch her second champagne label in fall 2020. So now I'll turn it over to Blaine.
Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us today. And thank you, everyone who's supported the FIZZ is Female since I launched it in 2018. It's a real passion pursuit of mine. I'm so happy to be able to have it at Bâtonnage this year. And though we can't be here in person, we do have an amazing group of female powerhouses in sparkling wine with us today. So we have Naomi Smith. Naomi is the Western Regional Manager for Champagne Laurent Perrier. We have Pauline Lhote. Pauline is the winemaker at Chandon USA. And we have Jayme Powers. Jayme is the owner, founder of SIGH Wine Bar in Sonoma. And last but certainly not least, we have Rita Jammet. Rita is the creator of Champagne La Caravelle. So we're going to just dive right in and speak to the ladies one by one. If you have any questions, feel free to pipe them into the chat and I'll try to get to them. If not, we'll answer them at the end during a Q&A. So Naomi, hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you. It's afternoon for us here on the East Coast. Thank you for joining us today. So a lot of people don't realize that Champagne Laurent Perrier is really historically a female-led house. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about Laurent Perrier in general, besides the amazing wines, of course, is our incredible history of women leaders, leading us to our current owners, Stephanie and Alexandra today, and of course, Michelle DeFeo, our president, who I know you've just done a FIZZ is Female with not too long ago. But the house itself goes back to 1812, and we had our very first woman owner in 1887, who was Matilda Emile Perrier. And she actually took over the house when her husband tragically died in a cellar accident, which, by the way, historically, it was very dangerous to work in cellars, exploding bottles, a lot of challenges. And then sadly, we lost Eugene, but we gained Matilda, who within the first 2 years of taking over ownership of the house, had a huge impact on the winery itself, but also the region by being the first champagne house to create a no dosage champagne. So she launched it actually in the restaurant at the Eiffel Tower, which had just opened up in 1887. And it was extremely popular, and ended up running it through until World War I, when it went dormant. The house then petitioned the CIVC in the late 70s to add a Brut Nature category, a 0 to 3 grams per liter category. And then we relaunched our Ultra Brut, which is a Brut Nature style. And then this last fall, we launched another no dosage champagne, our Blanc de Blanc. So she was the first Veuve. We then had Marie-Louise Lançon, who was the descendant of the Lançon Champagne House. She had 13 siblings, so they would naturally, based on French inheritance, inherit most of the house. But she had 4 children, and she was a widower. She wanted to invest in their future, so she sunk her entire life savings into the house, Laurent Perrier, for her family, and managed to keep it working, fully functioning, even through World War II. At one point, she actually hid 100,000 bottles in the cellars so the Nazis wouldn't steal them. And then, of course, now segueing into Stephanie and Alexandra, our 2 owner sisters, who are her granddaughters. And this last fall, we just added Lucie de Nonancourt, Alexandra's daughter, who is our assistant winemaker and is responsible for producing Grand Siècle, our prestige cuvée.
Wow. And so in addition to that, that's a lot. So in addition to that, you have yourself, you have Michelle DeFeo, as you noted, who is the president of the company.
Absolutely.
Many other females that are on the ground running here in the US. So with the female energy and how do you think the female energy has impacted the positioning of the house, reputation of the house, the style of the house, even the category, you're number 4, right? So you're positioned at number 4 in the world. And so how do you feel the female aspect has impacted that?
Yeah, so speaking to Michelle DeFeo, our president, our fearless leader, who is an incredible mentor to me, and we have, you mentioned our regional managers. We have 6 managers in the US, 5 of which are women. So I would say that Michelle's leadership has continued to support us in our endeavors and the success of LP in the US. And Stephanie and Alexandra, actually, they took over the house from their father, who left a huge legacy in the Champagne region and is recognized as one of the most important figures in Champagne's history. But, that's big shoes to fill, but they've done a great job. And in terms of production, they actually did a huge remodel of the house in 2017, which added or continued the quality of the house, which is 100% cold fermentation stainless steel, really fresh and vibrant. But going back to Michelle, one thing that I love about her is, she really focuses on mentorship and continuing to support women in the wine business. And we have a scholarship, actually, which Friday is the deadline for our 2nd annual scholarship. It's a Women in Leadership scholarship. So if you're interested, get in contact with somebody from Laurent Perrier and we can make sure you get that information. But trying to get more women in leadership roles in the wine business is very important to us as a company, and we're investing in that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'll be posting about that scholarship on all of our social media channels as well, reminding people of the deadline. So it is tomorrow, that's correct? And
Friday.
Friday. And so I'll post that on our channels, the FIZZ Female and Champagne Blaine, and all over the websites and everything. So we'll get that up. So tell us about your role as a Western Regional Manager. What does that include for people looking to advance their careers, maybe coming from the on-premise side or off-premise sales? Can you tell us about what you do a bit?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love my job. I have the dream job. I've been in the wine business. It was my first official career when I graduated from high school when I was 25, and I worked my way through it and got into Laurent Perrier, and I've been so happy ever since. My job is a lot of different things. I run 6 states for the company, all along the West Coast. And what's interesting is it's always something new and different, but focused on sales and brand awareness of Laurent Perrier. So I manage my distributors. I work closely with important retailers and partners like Jayme at SIGH. I do Pebble Beach food and wine panels. I do all sorts of things like that. But then I even, I'll go and hang shelf talkers at a retailer. It's a lot of different things. It's education. It's promoting the winery and the house, and it's a really fun and interesting job. And I highly recommend people getting into the wine business. If you're passionate about wine, there is a job for everyone in the industry.
Totally agree. How has your job and its how have the travel limitations impacted your role? What have you been able to do to stay fresh and current with all of your education and everything?
Well, first of all, I had to cancel a trip to Champagne that I'm very disappointed. It was going to be a lady buyer's trip. So outside of getting over canceling Pebble Beach Food and Wine and Maui Food and Wine Classic and all these fun events, it's been disappointing. But just like everyone else, we pivot, right? And the thing that's been most important from Michelle's leadership and for us as a team is how can we use our resources to support our accounts and our distributor? So what we've spent the last several months doing is investing in strategic ways to support. So we've done a restaurant outreach program where we've offered a really aggressive price on our smaller formats that restaurants have shown success with grab and go and delivery. And on top of that, we give back 25% so the restaurant can invest in their staff, buying masks, paying the electricity bill, whatever they need to do in order to stay afloat. We've also bought gift certificates at various accounts. We've tried to partner with restaurants who are still doing service and send food to retailers so that we can feed their teams. Because to be honest with you, it's really hard right now being out in the field, and we want to do whatever we can to try and make it easier on them. So those sort of initiatives have been what I've been most happy with. And you have to remember that these are people that are our accounts that buy our wine that allow me to keep my job, but they also are my friends and their friend family. So it's important for us as our company to make sure that we're supporting them throughout this to the best of our ability.
That's fantastic. I love everything you guys are doing. So thank you for that. And I'm sure the restaurant community and retailers really appreciate it. So tell us how you have a family at home. So I know a lot of women, are interested in how they can keep their positions and balance their family. Do you have any tips on that? Do you think that being with a female-led team really helps you manage it all? Can you tell people about how you balance your life stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you when I first had my first child, I felt guilty about leaving a meeting to go pump, or had to steal away to make sure that I was able to be present for my young family. And I got over that real quick. And my advice to young mothers who are in this industry is your family comes first, no matter what, and find a job that supports you in doing that. And you can be extremely successful doing both things. There's absolutely no reason why you can't excel at both. I definitely incorporate my kids into a lot of things that I do. When I travel, I try and take them along with me whenever possible. So I turn it into a sales opportunity, but then also a family vacation. I'm not embarrassed to bring my kids to a sales meeting. I'm not, I definitely know that most of my top accounts have met my kids. They know that I'm a mom, and I'm really proud of that. And it gives me also great pleasure when I'm pouring wines at an account and someone says, "Oh, you have kids? Well, who's watching them right now?" I say, "My husband." Yeah, obviously. I didn't do this by myself. So just finding ways to, merge. But then there's also an important note, especially right now while we're in shelter in place. We could be working 24/7 because we're at our home office all the time with our families. So setting boundaries, clear boundaries where at this time I start my workday, at this time I end my workday. It's really important to set that. Otherwise, you'll find that you'll be working all the time. And then also, it's important to make time for yourself. I make time every day, whether that's going for a run, meditating, just doing something where I get a little time to focus on me. Otherwise, it's you need mental health as well. So those are big priorities.
Absolutely. And when you can start opening your first bottle of champagne.
Exactly. I mean, happy hours early.
Totally.
Happy hours a lot earlier these days. I can be honest with you on that.
Totally. Speaking of, what is in your glass today? What do you have in your glass before we move on?
My very favorite wine that I sell, Laurent Perrier Rosé. It's 100% Grand Cru Pinot Noir, done maceration technique, and it is absolutely delicious.
Fantastic. Well, cheers to that. Cheers.
Cheers.
So next we'll chat with Pauline. So speaking of balancing it all, Pauline is the winemaker for Chandon USA, and you just had a baby a few months ago. So you're really balancing it all right now.
I am indeed, yes. So my son name is Arnaud, and he will be almost 8 months very soon. So I mean, first of all, like it was obviously brand new for me, and I've discovered a new thing as being a mom. And honestly, I've got a super amazing baby, so we really feel like super blessed, and it's super easy. So it's been good, and I must say that I've enjoyed that new role quite a lot. So this is something that obviously being pregnant, I was always asking myself how I will be, and that has been quite a fantastic journey. So, you know, balancing work and life balance has never been something that was easy for me. I've always been like a workaholic, so working a lot. This is something that I was taught from a very young age. So up to now, you know, like all my time was really focused on my career, and I had all the time in the world to actually focus on my work, being present at the winery, being present for my team. So obviously having a baby has really shifted all of that, and has shifted my priority. And I think that little guy has helped me to have a more work and life balance that I used to. So as I was expecting the baby, obviously, like we also prepared with my departure. I was going to be on leave for a long period of time, so which gave the opportunity also for my team, which I have a young team with me working alongside with me, but also gave them the opportunity and more space as I was, you know, preparing to be on leave for a few months. So while on leave, you know, I've always like touch base with them and make sure like I was still present with them. So that was very important. But at the same time, leaving them the space to grow and make their own decision. And so that has been actually quite fantastic to see and watch. So that has been very good. So, but going back to the motherhood work life, you know, like I no longer have as much time allocated to work as I used to. So, you know, when I go back to work, it has to be like super focused. It's laser focus. And Naomi, you were talking about, you know, the guilt. This is still something like I wish I didn't have that guilt because I still have it at the moment because I'm not spending as much time as I would want. So, but it is what it is, you know. So that going back to my team, you know, I also want to show them that you can do both, and you can be successful at your job, and you can also be successful at home. So when the global pandemic happened, I was still on leave because I was actually able to, during my maternity leave, I was able to actually go back to the winery for blending. So I did like on and off being working or being on leave. So that was actually quite cool to do. So I did blending because blending is a very, very important part of crafting sparkling wine. So this is something we didn't feel like I could be not doing for this year. So I've done that. And like I said, I've always kept a close relationship with my team. But when the pandemic happened, then obviously I got a lot more closer and with them because I wanted to make sure like, you know, I was there to support them as well. I think like there's twofold to it, you know, what that pandemic has happened is like everybody has been forced to reevaluate what their work and life balance means. So at the beginning, honestly, it was not easy. So I started to, when I went back to work, and started to have Zoom calls. Thankfully, like how IT was super well set up months ago, so we already had all the tools. But we jump in on Zoom calls from, you know, like 8 in the morning up to like 5 in the afternoon. So at some point it was extremely exhausting. So we had to get used to it. But I think like also what Zoom has created is, you know, like I'm in my house right now, like, so you're able to share a lot more of your personal life. And this was actually a great thing. So, you know, baby Arno has been on a lot of Zoom calls. I can tell you that I was going on and off on videos. I have changed many diapers during meetings. I have fed him many bottles during Zoom call. And also, it allowed me to stay at home a little bit longer. So being able to enjoy him a little bit longer has been quite cool. But obviously, like the pandemic has made it a little bit harder as well, because there's so many things you need to think of. I mean, I've got a very operational job. We're about to start harvest and welcome, you know, our seasonal harvest. And when you think about all the social distancing that needs to take place, there is just so many things that that need to be happening. So it's, yeah, there is a lot going on.
Right, you do have a lot going on. Can you tell us a bit about, for people that don't know your background, you are from France, and what made you make the jump from France to Napa, and how did that happen, and how has your French upbringing impacted your role as winemaker at Chandon USA?
Yeah, so I grew up in France. I grew up in Champagne, and age 14, I knew I wanted to be a winemaker. And for me, it was not about just being a winemaker. I wanted to make bubbles. I grew up around it, so for me, it was pretty easy. So I did my education back in France. So I think like this has helped me a lot, because I mean, I gained all of my technical, you know, the French savoir-faire. Obviously, I brought that with me. I came in 2006 to Napa Valley, so it's been almost 15 years. And I came to Chandon for what was supposed to be a 3-month internship. And this obviously evolved as an assistant winemaker role, and then now director of winemaking, head winemaker for Chandon. Never anticipated that I would be staying in Napa. Like I said, it was supposed to be a 3-month internship, but really fell in love with the region. You know, Napa Valley is quite a special place, and immediately I felt like that I would belong in that region. Really enjoy that. So you know, I quickly made like really lifelong friends. Also met my husband. So, you know, meeting a Californian boy like really helped in my decision in staying, for sure. So, but the French aspect for me, I think what I bring into my work is the fact that there is the sense of place is something that is quite important, and the notion of terroir. So this is something that I bring every day in me. Like, yes, I'm from Champagne, but I'm crafting sparkling wine in California. And I really want to, in all of the wines that I'm making, having that California, capturing the California essence in the bottle is I feel is part of what I need to bring. So making a style that is very distinctive and different. So that's what I love about it. And I love the fact that, you know, I connected quite quickly about working in the United States or working in Napa Valley. You know, for me, like my family has taught me a few things, which is you know, work hard, but also explore. So working hard, this is, you know, my parents are farmers, so I grew up on a farm, so I've always worked hard, and this has never changed. But explore is one of the things that a value that my parents have taught me for a very long age. And this is what brought me to Napa, because I wanted to explore new things. I wanted to travel. Of course, I wanted to learn English. That was another part of me coming to Napa Valley. But I wanted to open my mind to new things. And then I realized coming to Napa that I would have an opportunity that I would not maybe have in France. So for me, like, and what I love about working for Chandon is the fact that I can explore stylistically. I can explore, I can make my own wine, I can really design like the wine style that maybe I would not have the chance to do back in Champagne. So the freedom to craft wines and making new things is what really kept me going and super motivated about crafting sparkling wine in California.
And how long have you been in California? When did the transition take place?
So I arrived in August of 2006.
Okay.
So that would be my 15th harvest. But the good thing about it is that I never made the decision like this is my life going forward. Like it was it happened like over a long period of time. And yeah, the decision was not made overnight. And then now I've got a family in Napa, but it doesn't mean that I will not go back to France at some point. You know, like for me, the fact that it's quite open and you know, we'll see where we go.
And speaking to you mentioning that you like to capture the California essence in your wines, new product launches, I see that you have one with you right now. It's the By the Bay. Can you tell us about that? That couldn't be more capturing of the California essence. So tell us about it.
So what I'm drinking is Chandon By the Bay, which is the brand new release. And this one is a tribute to the Carneros region, which is south of Napa, which is one of the coolest regions to make sparkling wine. So this one is a Blanc de Blanc. It's a reserve wine. There's a little bit of barrel oak, partially mature barrel oak wines in it. So it's been good. But to touch on innovation, it's something that we take super seriously at Chandon. Like status quo with Chandon doesn't exist. We're always thinking about, you know, what new product we can do, what are the new ways a consumer would enjoy their wines. So a couple of years ago, we've launched Aluminis, which is aluminum, like sparkling wine in aluminum bottles for people that are on the go and want to enjoy their sparkling wine by the pool or stadiums or at concerts, because we realized actually there was, you know, not a great selection there. So we wanted to make sure our consumers that love bubbles can enjoy high quality sparkling wine at those places. We've launched the By the Bay. We also, for our wine club members, we have launched also a pet nat last month. So we're always looking to do new things and innovation, whether it is in the winemaking process, because that's something that I really adore doing. Having new tools or new way of making wines. So for us, it ties back to the story of Chandon, is like being creative, having that freedom to go beyond convention. This is what we're really trying to do.
I will touch on the Aluminis. We are featuring those in a special Bâtonnage FIZZ Female collaboration box that we're doing with clubbubbly.com. So that includes the 2 minis, a bottle of Laurent Perrier and a bottle of Le Grand Courtage from Tanya Faulkner, who is in our session 2 on July 10th, and also a bottle of Paula Cornell Sparkling. So in the swag bag, if anyone has gotten to sift through that who has a pass to Bâtonnage, you'll find the details about the Club Bubbly promotion that we're doing to celebrate. And we have a 20% discount for everyone for that. I also posted it to FIZZ Female and Champagne Blaine today. So got to get that plug in of this awesome FIZZ female powerhouse wine box we've got going. They're adorable. I wish I had one right in front of me right now, but I unfortunately do not. But they're all over the website. So thank you, Pauline, and cheers to you. And can't wait to see what you all do next with all the innovation that you have going on at Chandon.
Yeah, I wish you could actually taste this wine, but it's all good.
I will soon. I'll make it happen soon. All right. So next we're chatting with Jayme Powers. Jayme is the founder and owner of SIGH Wine Bar in Sonoma. So hi, Jayme.
Hi, thank you for having me, Blaine, and
Thank
everyone.
you so much. So what made you open a wine bar that's focusing on champagne and sparkling wine? Let's get to it.
I know, crazy, right? So I started, I've always been in hospitality. So when I started my first job at 14 in a restaurant as a hostess, and then just kind of went from there. Eventually found myself working at Schramsberg Vineyards as a tour guide and in sales in the visitor center, and I just fell in love. I adored my job every day. I was so lucky. I drove an hour each way to get to Calistoga, so North Napa Valley, and it was just incredible. I loved the team I worked with. I loved the process. I loved educating people, and it's a really special place. And so I just kept learning, and I'd speak to the winemakers, and if you've ever been, it's an incredible place. There's close to 3 million bottles aging in these beautiful caves. They're the oldest caves in the Napa Valley. Very similar to now that I've been to Champagne, really very similar. So just absolutely beautiful. And at the time, this was, I was working there in 2010, 2011. The plaza here, I live in Sonoma, born and raised in Sonoma Valley. We have a park, a central plaza, and surrounding it, these tasting rooms started blossoming. So they were really small boutique wineries that were opening these tiny little tasting rooms, which was really fun. And being in hospitality and still working in a restaurant, I was noticing that the trend was, especially for not only far away tourists, but local tourists, Bay Area friends that were just popping up from San Francisco for the day and whatnot, were just kind of parking the car and eating and shopping and drinking and enjoying our beautiful plaza that has a gorgeous park that you're legally allowed to drink in, and especially now with all of this craziness. Sorry, my Zoom is talking to me. I think my Siri is on. Anyway, so I was noticing all these tasting rooms, and I apologize, my Siri.
We're not getting it on our end, so you're all good.
Turn off my Siri. I am so sorry.
Jayme, we're not actually hearing anything. So if it's not bothering you too much to talk through it, we're not getting it on our end, I don't think.
Okay, you're not.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, sorry. I've never used my Siri on my laptop, so I don't know why it's showing up now. Technical difficulty. Anyway, so I was just noticing it was all these beautiful tasting rooms, but everyone was doing red wine and white wine. And I just love the education and the history of Champagne and what we've been doing in California as far as sparkling. And I think we've been doing a beautiful job. And Schramsberg, where I came from, was really one of the pioneers of that in 1965 when the current family started making bubbles. So I thought, well, why not have a location? Because I value and honor winemakers so much, because it is such a difficult job. And I always say, I try to tell people, so winemaking is so difficult and such a beautiful art, and making sparkling wine and champagne is like making it twice. So it's really difficult. And so I love teaching people about it. And I thought, why not have a place where you can have bubbles from all over the world, and you can teach people about the history of champagne and the beauty of true champagne, and then what we're doing here in California, and cavas and proseccos and beautiful sparkling from New Zealand, and I'm always geeking out and trying to find something from the newest corner of the earth, whether it's England and what they're producing now. And so I thought, how fun would it be to really be able to offer flights and show that they can come from all kinds of grapes too. So that was kind of my inspiration. And so I took a little business course at the Chamber of Commerce. It was literally a 3-night course, and that was my first, and it was called So You Want to Start a Business? I was so green, and I just took this huge leap, and I jumped, and that was in 2012. And then I had a big build out in this tiny little location, about 600 square feet, and I opened my first store. I had a little orchid and a little fridge full of bubbles, and it was just me for quite some time, no employees, and I just worked my tail off. And that was, September of 2012. So that was my start. Thanks.
Congratulations to 8 years. I will ask, what was your position at Schramsberg, and was that your first position in wine, or had you worked in other areas of hospitality before Schramsberg?
I did a quick stint at Provenance in Napa, but previously it was mostly restaurant and bars.
Okay.
So always hospitality, but primarily restaurants. So.
And then what did you do at Schramsberg or for Schramsberg?
So I was very persistent. I really wanted to work there because I actually visited as a guest for when I was 29, I think. And I just knew that was where I wanted to work. And so I have a friend who owns a Basque bakery here in town. So I really want to work there, but no one ever leaves because it's such a magical place. And she said, well, you have to be the thorn in their side. You have to, keep going. And so I was this crazy girl from Sonoma that just kept showing up. They were not hiring. And I brought cookies. I was crazy. And so I was like, me again, just want a job. And then magically these two positions opened up, one in the office, essentially a secretary position, and then one in the VC. So in the visitor center, essentially as a tour guide. It's because of the permitting in Napa, it's not a traditional tasting room. It's an educational tour. So I knew I loved people. I love interacting with people. I love hosting people. And so I just knew that I would succeed more in the visitor center and enjoy that more than sitting behind a desk.
Yes. And I can see that primed you for your opening your own wine bar perfectly, right?
It's pretty fun. I still love to this day. I mean, the ups and downs of owning a business and
of course
entrepreneurship is crazy, but at the end of the day, no matter how exhausted you can be, when I have a couple or a group and I know that I made their experience in my hometown better and special, whether they're on their honeymoon or they just, got engaged or they just had a baby or whatever it is. Obviously, as we all know, it's a pretty celebratory drink, even though we shouldn't save it. It's an everyday, in my opinion, but it really makes me happy. And I think that's the core of why I love doing it.
Well, I do want to touch on the trials and tribulations and the roller coaster of being in entrepreneurship. But first, I have some questions. So someone did ask where the name SIGH came from.
So I have a background from college in graphic design as well. So deciding on a name for a bar and deciding on fonts and things like that, it's like life or death to me. So of course, I'm running through a million names and FIZZ and bubbly and all these things. And at the time, my manager at Schramsberg was French-Canadian. And I said, if you don't know, the sound of the cork escaping the bottle should mimic the sigh of a contented woman. And I probably spent close to 25 hours researching on the internet, trying to find who actually said that. And maybe my French sidekicks can help me find that, but I could never find it. But the sigh of a contented woman, so you should always twist the bottle, releasing the cork just ever so gently, and because the pop is considered rude depending upon where you are. We also love it because it's celebratory. But I took that and I thought, okay, the sigh of a contented woman, you're content, you're enjoying this beautiful glass of wine. And here in Sonoma, you're on vacation. It's the sigh of enjoyment and relaxation. So kind of combining that all. Oh, and my manager was French, and I asked her, and I excused to my beautiful French friends here. She said, soupier. And she said, no, it won't work because everyone will think you're selling soup. So I went in English. So.
I love it. I love it. And then, so you have some fans on here. I know that Sonoma is such a tight-knit community, and every time I'm in Sonoma, Napa, San Francisco, I drink more champagne and sparkling wine there and than I do in New York, it seems like. So I feel like that's like, is your place the place people go, like post-shift bubbles or something? I feel like that would be it if it was, is people seem to miss SIGH. So everyone's asking when you're reopening.
Well, I mean, I think, I don't know many people who turn away a glass of champagne or sparkling wine. I love it. I never get sick of it. I always enjoy tasting new things, and just there's so many nuances and subtleties in this type of wine, and it's such a beautiful thing to me. And I know most people in the industry, because it is a very small community, tight knit, and there's not a lot of my friends turning away a glass at the end of their shift. In terms of reopening, I'm in the process. We've had some ever-changing regulations. It's going to look very different, of course. We previously were, especially weekends with tourists, rocking and rolling. So this place is packed. Generally, in the height season, especially, we can't have that now because of distancing. So it'll be a little slower paced for now, and which actually I enjoy as well, because it allows you to have more time with the guests, and if they have questions about the wine, you can be more one-on-one.
Right.
So hoping for this weekend. I'm still waiting on a couple deliveries. My Laurent Perrier hasn't come in yet, Naomi.
Oh, okay. It's on its way. I saw it. It's coming.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. So
thank you.
Yes. So just piecing it all together, and then taking it one step at a time, and trying to manage the new normal, as we all are. Mm-hmm.
Well, you seem so positive and upbeat and solution-minded, and that's really the trick to getting through the ups and downs in entrepreneurship in my eyes. But you have had quite the last couple of years owning a brick and mortar with fires, tariffs, and now COVID. So any other tips to staying positive and afloat and solution-minded through these ups and downs? Do you have any tips for anyone on here?
I mean, I think we're all real, but there's definitely ups and downs for every single one of us in the world right now. And you have your moments where you're just bawling and you're like, life can't go on, and then you have some perspective and you're like, literally champagne problems. So I think you just keep going. And then when you're having those low lows, you lean on, your partner or your family or your friends, and just have people remind you that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And also then you have those upswings where you're like, it's a gift. I mean, it's so horrible what's going on, and the loss in our world right now is so sad. And that's the time to take it and say, how can I reinvent? How can I make this better? What can we take from this and this incredible challenge and move forward? Because it's my life. I call it my bubble baby. So I've worked really, really hard for the last 8 years, and if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging. So, but I don't intend to, because I think we have a wonderful support system here in not only Sonoma Valley, but the Bay Area, and our just all of our visitors. They're so loving, and that's what keeps you going. People check on you, and Naomi, first weekend, she purchases a gift card. I mean, little things like that. You remember those, and you're like, people miss us, and I did a couple curbside sales that were really more for morale. And I got to, people would pull up and they would call, and then they'd pop their trunk, and I'd pop their bottles in their trunk, and mask and gloves and everything. And it was just so great to see them, even in the rearview mirror. And they're like, we'll be back. So that's the kind of stuff that keeps you going.
Yeah, that's great. Well, cheers to you. I cannot wait
thank you.
SIGH Sonoma. I'm sorry about that. I can't wait to come to SIGH. I would have been there if we were having Bâtonnage in person this year, but
I know. Next year.
Yes,
yeah.
We'll be there. So cheers.
Awesome.
So last but certainly not least, we're chatting with Rita Jammet of La Caravelle Champagne. Hi, Rita.
Hi.
Thank you.
Beautiful so far. Excellent panel so far. So much relevant information and inspiring too.
So Rita, you're the founder and owner of you're the chief bubble officer, as you call yourself. So a more fun way of saying owner, chief bubble officer, Rita Jammet. Tell us about La Caravelle and the origins behind the brand, how the brand was started.
My husband and I used to own the restaurant La Caravelle, which was in Midtown Manhattan in New York. We've owned it for the last 20 years of its life. And in '97, we decided to have our own cuvée of champagne just for our guests as an extension of hospitality. Fast track forward, when we closed the restaurant in 2004, I was wondering, I really want to stay in the hospitality industry, but how will I do that? I don't want to have a restaurant again because that was done. And our friends and family and guests suggested, why don't you continue La Caravelle Champagne? So I said, okay. It was not easy, but there we are. That's how.
So you were really a pioneer, I feel, in creating a label, a private label with the Maison, years before a lot of other people started doing this. You launched it through the restaurants. How did you keep the brand alive? What was your strategy in keeping the brand alive and shifting from it being a house champagne to being something that you sold to restaurants and bars and wine shops in New York and beyond?
The brand extension in itself was a tricky project. It took a long time and a lot of perseverance. Those who know me know that when I want something, I do go until I get it. So it was challenges and opportunities. You had to have, it took me like at least 9-10 years to really come to a certain level of relevancy. I would say, I'll start with the opportunities. My first boost was from Alain Ducasse. Right after we closed, I was talking to him and he said, talking to him about the champagne, and he said, are you going to reopen a restaurant again? And I said, hell no, that was done. And he said, okay, I'm opening 2 restaurants and come show your champagne to our sommelier. If he likes it, you're in. So that was one. Then Aldo Somme helped. Laura Manick with Cork Buzz was super supportive as well. So then this part was really amazing seeds that took a long time to grow. The challenge is obviously being now a brand in a totally different field in champagne, which is quite a tightly knit world. And being accepted and recognized not only by the sommelier and buyers community, but also by the champagne world itself. A lot of people were saying, what La Caravelle, what is this? So it took a while, but there we go. Now I'm part of your Champagne Week and La Fête du Champagne. So
and FIZZ Female.
And the FIZZ Female, of course. Yes. Within the champagne community, I have been, I've forged some really beautiful friendships with other champagne makers, and I'm thrilled about it.
Well, I feel like you coined the term brand ambassador before it was even in existence in the wine world. I mean, you are the owner, founder, and the brand ambassador for this wine, and you're very anyone who knows Rita knows that she's very relationship driven, and she's friends with everyone, and she likes to go and pony up at the bar and order some of her champagne and really chat and support the restaurants. So tell us about how that has impacted your growth for the brand, your relationships and your strategy to selling the wine, because you're not a hard salesperson. That's not who you are.
No, exactly. Well, it was a kind of a community restaurant and wine community grassroots project. It's strictly through my connections and contacts and friendships in the world of restaurants and growingly in the world of sommeliers. I only reached out to people I knew, whether it's sommelier, chefs, owners, restaurant owners, managers, to get the appointments. And as Aldo Somme told me, we love you in the industry, and I was happy to give you an appointment, but that's not why we're gonna have put your champagne in our wine program. It's because we like the product and the product works for us. So that was probably the best feedback I had, because it was very constructive. As far as sales go, I strongly dislike pushy sales tactics. They make me cringe. I've been exposed to them still to this day. exposed to them frequently, and these people don't realize that it's so counterproductive. I'm striving for a win-win situation where obviously I'm happy to make a sale, but I'm also mindful of the product being in the wine program, bringing something to the restaurant and the guests, whether it's the value and the story behind it, all of that put together, it's a win-win situation. And I after I explain the basic information, I let the wines speak for themselves.
Right.
So this also, I'm a very big proponent of two-way street in everything, especially in business. Those who support me, I support. Whether it's on a professional level, which are very costly, not only in dollars, but in calories and in hours. It's a pleasant, mostly super pleasant experiences. But when you give of yourself, you get the rewards. You forge beautiful friendships, which you also, they enrich your lives. And there we go.
And how many wines do you have in your range?
We have three Champagne and one Bordeaux cuvée. We have the Cuvée Nina, which is what I'm drinking tonight, not today. Here we go. I don't know if you can see it. Cuvée Nina is a blend of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. And they're in these beautiful glasses from Gabrielle. Thank you, Gabrielle. The glasses are gorgeous. Cheers to everyone. Then we have a Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay. Beautiful cuvée also. Different style, obviously, than the Cuvée Nina. And we have a rosé. Our rosé is a blended rosé. With the base blend of the Cuvée Nina. In addition, they also blend in some still Pinot Noir.
And you also have these half bottles, which I'm drinking, and which is perfect for
the baby. Yeah.
Perfect for two, but in my case, one, because I'm not sharing this. And it's been also perfect for quarantine, at home quarantine, these Zoom happy hours we're all doing. And then you also have large formats, right? Do you have this or
generation? We have the baby, the 750, and the 1500, the magnums in the
Magnum.
For the Cuvée Nina, which is essentially that's your flagship wine, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And so how have you managed the growth of your brands, because you are so hands-on? How can you be everywhere at once? Because you do it all. You wear all the hats in your
well, about being everywhere at once. Thank God for the virtual world, which I pivoted to, like my colleagues here. I can be in a lot of places at the same time and talk to different people from all over the world. Well, you have to, I think when you give yourself and you reach out to the community, that's given that the La Caravelle has the restaurant in its DNA. That was my first natural audience, which now caused to be a challenge, because I was selling a lot more to restaurants than to off-premise. So that's what I've been working on right now. We expanded also some distribution. Our biggest market is New York, because yours truly is here. We have distribution in several states, such as Colorado, New Jersey, Virginia, DC, Maryland, Illinois, and Alabama, Minnesota, very soon in California, which I'm so excited about, because I have a lot of requests. I think California people are amazing because they love champagne. So that's the best news. We have our anniversary coming up soon. La Caravelle restaurant was founded in September 1960. So yeah, not sweet 16, but sweet 60 in our case here.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I don't know exactly if it's going to be a virtual or live or combination, depending on what's happening with the COVID situation. That's the story, yeah.
And speaking of the virtual events, you seemed like a pretty early adopter to tackling that world and doing a lot of these a little bit more like fun, like pairing parties and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you have done for the virtual promotions and events to get you in front of people
in my quest to
yes.
reach out to the public? and to the consumers and the stores, obviously, to increase business in the stores. I've had the pleasure of being interviewed by you on a number of Instagram lives. Zoom, I've been super active on Zoom. We had a great and fun event for the FIAF, French Institut Alliance Française, where I was with a mixologist, Pam Wisnitzer. She was concocting cocktails with our champagne after I presented the original products themselves. And we had a contest. We told everyone, here's the ingredients, here are the ingredients, while the invitation was launched. During the event, you can compose your cocktail and show pictures, and the ones that show the best cocktail, the most attractive one, will get a bottle of champagne. So that was hugely well attended and very, very, very positive. Yesterday, I did a cheese and wine and champagne tasting with the artisanal cheese with Terence Brennan, and it was super fun. And you know, it's just at the end of the day, you have to make it a fun thing. Otherwise, people are not here to be lectured or get lots of technical information. They just zoom out, literally speaking. So fun yet informative, dispensing tidbits of fun information. They loved yesterday the fact that I said, do you know how to reset your nose or your sense of smell? They said, no. I said, you just smell your own skin, and that's it. That resets. And I learned this at a fragrance party at Chanel last year. So things like that.
Yeah.
Super useful and simple and fun too.
That's great. So can people, where do you promote the virtual events that you're doing? Because it seems like you're doing them like 2 or 3 times a week right now.
Yes. And the beauty of it is that people are reaching out. I'm not really
that's great.
reaching out to a lot of people. It has kept me very busy. I promote mostly on the where it belongs in the virtual space, digital, Instagram. And I also send emails to my list that I have had for years and growingly so. And we also are launching our new website today. So a little later today. I'm so excited. Yeah.
Cool. So if you want to type that into the chat, Rita, you can go ahead and do that. And it looks like we have a few more minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, I think we can shift to the Q&A if we're still even doing that. Rebecca, Katie?
Yeah. Great. So Blaine, this question is for Jayme, and Rita may want to add, or any of the other panelists may want to add their own challenges here. But this is, what are 1 or 2 of your biggest challenges in general, and then in particular as a woman with opening up SIGH? So again, this could go out to everybody in their own experiences as well.
I mean, there are always a lot of challenges opening a business, and it's funny because I mentioned earlier, it is a roller coaster, and some days, of course, you think, God, if I knew all the hoops that you have to jump through and everything, would I have done it? And I would have. But as a woman, for the most part, I'm a pretty powerful person. So I'm really sweet. I'm really nice to a point. So then if you start to take advantage of me, no more. So maybe that's a way that I've asserted myself in more of a masculine fashion. Occasionally there's been a couple instances that with whether it was a construction project, I don't think I mentioned we moved 3 years ago from our original tiny little location to our current location, which is 3 times the space, and it was a pretty hefty build out. So it was jokingly, I call the first one SIGH 1.0, which I was very naive and green, and that was a build out too, but it was much smaller. Second one was a lot bigger, a lot more money. And so I call this SIGH 2.0, and now I'm calling reopening after COVID SIGH 2.5. So there's always a challenge. Female wise, I just, the couple instances that maybe it was dealing with a contractor who maybe, I was misjudged because, I kind of come off as this little blonde girl who has a champagne bar, but really it's like, no, I'm a really hard worker and I've done my research. So then I kind of snap them back into place.
I didn't know if anyone. I could do one more. We have what trends in sparkling are you most excited about? So this could go to any of the panelists as well.
Rosé. We can't get enough rosé. It's one of those trends that when I first got into the wine business, I remember how hard it was to sell still or sparkling rosé because people thought that they were sweet. The pendulum has swung in the opposite direction, and now it's definitely one of our most popular, highest selling champagnes that we have. And excited that there's a whole category of men who love rosé now, which was so hard to get, and now they call it brosé. So the rosé trend is I'm full support of. So cheers to that.
I'd like to add to that. I also really love the continued promotion and development of low to no dosage sparkling wines. And I'm a big fan of that Blanc de Blanc Brut Nature that you all launched at Laurent Perrier. I can't wait to get another bottle soon.
So good.
And I'm also a big fan that finally everyone is using wider mouth glasses for their sparkling wines and champagne. So bye-bye flutes, finally. It's taken a while, but I feel like the greater population is shifting to the more wider mouth glass. So big fan of that.
There's still work to do on that though. Still,
yes, I know.
It's they call it a champagne glass, the flute.
Yes, yeah.
Work on not only the habit, but the semantics of it too.
Yeah, I think within the industry we've nailed it down, but maybe like outside of the industry we still have work to do. Anyone else have any trends that they're loving or?
I really love that people are starting to learn more about grower champagnes as well. While I love the Grand Marque houses, it's really interesting to see how people are understanding and how many more we're able to get in the States, and teaching people that these are small producers, they're farmers, and Champagne is a relatively small region, and so to show the difference, and even if you're comparing it to the smaller wineries in California versus the big ones, and I always tell people they're great for both reasons. They're so different, but to teach people about that, and also and that also helps with the education of champagne doesn't have to be expensive. You can find it at a reasonable price and enjoy it every day. I love that too.
Well, the first year that I did Champagne Week, which was 8 years ago, you never saw grower champagnes on wine lists. Right. And I mean, I'm in New York, and no one knew me and no one wanted to support me. So I went to France, I went to Vin Expo, and I ended up clearing a bunch of champagnes through a clearinghouse. And my first year of Champagne Week was pretty much all grower champagnes, which not a lot of people know today, but that was 2013. So it is exciting to see that lists are becoming so much more flush with grower champagnes for sure.
To continue on the point that was brought up earlier, I think that making champagne into just because drink, that we've made progress, but we have ways to go. So not just, of course, you use to celebrate with champagne, but you really want to have it. It's an amazing wine at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I think what is exciting also about bubbles is the diversity of it. So diversity of how the wine is made, diversity of where it comes from. Not a lot of people know how, that you can make, obviously champagne in France, but in Italy, in California. Chandon, we have 6 wineries around the world. So who knew that you could make wine in India or China or Australia or Brazil or Argentina? Those are all of the places that we at. And I think sparkling wine also give a sense of identity and places and terroir, but it's a world of possibilities. You can do so many things with sparkling. For me, I've made a pet nap, which I was quite excited about because it's something new. It's a méthode ancestrale is not something that we were doing before at Chandon. We were solely focusing on traditional method, but being able to actually learn new techniques, new trends makes it super exciting. And you have such a world of diversity in front of us that is actually super inspiring. For me as a winemaker, I feel like the world is endless, and there's so many, it's a world of possibility, which is pretty exciting.
Well, I can't wait to try that pet nat Pauline. So congratulations on that as well, and all that innovation. It's amazing. And it looks like we're out of time, but thank you everyone so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join today. Thank you to the ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for bringing us together. And
Thank you very much. It's been really fun. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Fun panel.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Blaine,
Cheers.
Naomi,
Very
Pauline, Jayme, Rita. That was great. I'm ready for a glass of bubbly now. I just want to make a small announcement about what's coming next with Bâtonnage Connect. So the next breakout session is Limiting Beliefs and the Art of Writing in the Wine Industry. And this is going to be a bit more interactive, set up as a workshop. So we'll have our attendees will be on video, and so hopefully you get to join us. It takes place on Wednesday, so that's July 1st at 10 a.m. So thank you all for joining, and thank you again to our great panel.